Put the gun down. I have a point. Before you pull that trigger, at least let me reach it.
Everybody like, hey, are you ready to go? Ready to go. Everybody like, hey.
Why, hello there. What's going on, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So I'm more than sure that you probably saw the title and thumbnail in this video and groaned on your way in. Don't worry, I promise I'm gonna explain myself, but before I do that, I have a couple of things to talk about. Once again, I want to thank you guys for the support you've been giving me on this channel. I've been having a lot of fun, and I really do appreciate you guys. And this is probably gonna sound annoying, but I just really hope that you guys consider following me on Le Twitter. I would prefer to move all of my big question stuff and all my polls over there so I could keep things more organized. I'm in the comment section all the time, and I feel super bad when I see that I obviously missed such a good idea because they accidentally commented on the regular comments instead of on the replies of the pinned comment. But that day is not today, so for now, comment to your guys' little heart's content, and I will try to see everybody's comment that replies to the pinned comment whenever I ask a question, because you guys are what helps me keep this channel running. Also, really quickly, I just wanted to address the fact that I do have a Q&A coming up later this week. A complete Pokemon Q&A, everything that you guys want to know about me, we're going to have them all answered. Actually, scratch that, maybe not all, but most. I will try to answer as many as I can in one video. Best way for me to see your question? Put it in the community post that I put up a couple of days ago, or reply to my announcement tweet talking about the Q&A. Everything you need to know will be right down there. Okay, moving on from all that, why don't we actually start getting into the main topic of this video. Now, this video here actually isn't a bunch of responses. Now, I did consider asking this as a question at one point, however, I kind of came to the conclusion that I already had my own answer. As you saw in the title, the question is, do we really need the full national dex going into the remakes? Before we get into my personal answer, I think it's worth talking about the situation one more time because not everybody knows about it. This was easily one of everybody's biggest problems going into 8th gen. To kind of recap all of 2019, simply put, they told us earlier in that year before its release that we wouldn't be getting the full dex, the national dex. That was huge because this is a mechanic that we've had around since Gen 3. So obviously a lot of people grew up being used to being able to collect all the previous Pokemon every gen that we went to. Their justification at the time was telling us that they needed to cut at least half the dex so that they could focus more on higher quality animations and details within the game. So I'm sure a lot of us figured, oh, okay, well this is our first big home console Pokemon game. If you guys need to really put all of your attention, focus, and money towards the animations and quality of the game, then fine, we could sacrifice half the Pokemon. We're not going to use all of them in one go anyway, so it only makes sense. Oh, mama, if only that were the case. Throughout that year, we got plenty of trailers showcasing back to back once again, time and time again, that we were not getting the quality animations that we were promised. I think one of my personal favorites was the gameplay trailer showcasing Scorbunny using double kick. He double kicked with his whole body, not with the feet, the whole body. And that was one of the big boys that kicked off that entire situation. You think you're currently seeing a lot of comparisons to older Pokemon games now? Oh dude, the how to hop animation were circling on every feed available for me for months. And the videos of them showing off the difference between Pokemon Gale of Darkness animations with the Pokemon and the current Pokemon animations we have now? Oh my goodness, dude, ages. Long story short, we were promised higher quality, and it felt like we barely got that delivered to us. Now, I'm not saying this would have made it okay, but had we had the full national dex, I feel like the blow would have been a lot softer for a lot of people. But nah. We got our 400 Pokemon and pretty much had to call it a day for the better part of a couple of months. What a time. I only had Luxray because of DLC. What a timeline, bro. And so now here we are, the better part of a year later, and we still only have about 600 of the 800 Pokemon that are in the series right now. And frankly, I'm sure a lot of you are pissed considering that we only got access to these Pokemon through payment. Payment! Even if you didn't pay for the DLC directly, you still had to pay for Pokemon Home even when they updated the dex, so you still gave them money. So I think that just about more or less wraps up the entire Pokedex situation in a nutshell. So that right there pretty much leads us back into our question. Going into 4th gen remakes, do we need the entirety of the Pokedex? Now I'm freaking positive that with every fiber of my being, y'all probably didn't even listen to a majority of all of that before you went in the comment section and started click-clacking away at your keyboard telling me why we have to have it. So before we get to my personal opinion, let's see if I can get into your heads as to why you believe that we need to have the national decks going into the remakes. Let's start with the fact that you fully believe that they have little to no excuse now not to give it to us. As I said earlier in the video, right now we have access to at least around 600, meaning we're still missing a fat 200 Pokemon. Considering that it's now February, anniversary time, we should be expecting some kind of big announcement this month. However, a majority of us are clearly doubtful that we'll be getting anything other than Gen 4 remakes this year. Meaning that I'm sure most of us can agree that we expect this game to run on the exact same engine that they used for Sword and Shield. I mean, come on, this is Pokemon we're talking about. Look at Oraz, they use the exact same engine that they use for X and Y. Hell, forget just Pokemon, this is a general video game tactic for sequels. Look at Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. Those games use the exact same engine, and Majora's Mask was a direct sequel. That's not really a problem. This is something I more than expect from the video game industry at this point. You developed a brand new engine for your game that worked fairly well, so why the hell not reuse it again? However, that means you're saving a lot of development time and cost. As they've done time and time again, they've utilized middle games and sequels to games much like Emerald, Platinum, Black 2, White 2. You have to admit, while there were tune-ups here and there, those were very similar games to their previous entries, which is why we fully expect these remakes to be no different. However, if you're going to utilize this method yet again, as you've been doing for years, then that means you have little to no excuse not to have those Pokemon upscaled and ready to go by the time that the remakes roll around. Y'all have a big team and a lot of money, and we usually do not care if it takes a little bit longer of a time to get things ready for us. However, since you utilized DLC this last year, that means that the other half of the team has probably had more than enough time to start working on the next games coming out either later this year or maybe next year, who knows. Assuming that the Pokemon DLC is done for Sword and Shield, that means you guys probably have access back to the full team, so that means y'all got nothing but time and absolute hands to get to click-clacking on upscaling the rest of the Pokemon. How about that then? Did I crack into that little noggin yet? No? Okay, how about this? Let's talk about the fact yet again that you feel like you were absolutely cheated. You feel like you were given plenty of empty promises and that all of your wants, needs, and requests were pretty much tossed to the wind for this last Pokemon game. You're upset because we were forced to swallow the idea that we might actually get higher quality games as long as we didn't get a majority of the decks. As a fan and as a player, you feel like that was a pretty worthy sacrifice. However, you're currently disappointed because you feel like we got absolutely juked and got neither of those things. With your overall disappointment in Sword and Shield, you probably feel like at the very least, if this is how they're going to continue to go about things, the least they could do is add in the rest of the Pokemon so that if we're going to keep playing the games, we could at least have access to our favorite Mons. How about that one, huh? I'm reading you like a book. I'm knocking in that noggin like the underground in 4th gen. I'm mostly kidding. I know I'm probably not exactly reading you like a book. However, I'm sure there are plenty of people that definitely feel that way. These are absolutely valid feelings though. Obviously, Pokemon is not to the extent of Cyberpunk 2077 or anything like that. However, the long and short of it is, you can't make promises and then not deliver on them, especially when you're doing something like taking away a fan favorite mechanic from years ago. I'm not going to keep going on and on about that because we've already talked about this for the last year and a half, but overall, you can't do that. Or at the very least, you shouldn't. You're hurting people, bro. You gotta consider what you're doing there. We got a little too deep there. I need to back it up a little bit and talk about the final reason why people may believe we absolutely need to have the national decks available at the get-go. Primarily, the entire existence of Pokemon Home. Basically, the question that stems from this is why are we paying for a service like Pokemon Home if we're just gonna leave a majority of our Pokemon to sit in a box and collect dust? Your boy is still waiting to get some kind of availability on Camerupt. I love that boy. Haven't used one since Gen 3. And yet, for whatever reason, even with the inclusion of Pokemon, hundreds of Pokemon from both DLCs, we still don't have access to such a big chunk of Pokemon. That's very weird. Sure, it's there for you to transfer your Pokemon back and forth whenever you want to start a new game, a new fresh game in Pokemon Sword and Shield, but how often are you really going to be doing that? Going into the next game, I'm sure a lot of us are thinking, if we're still not going to have full access to the decks, does that mean you expect us to still go back and forth between Sword and Shield and Diamond and Pearl remakes? Because I'm not sure that's going to happen very often. But that's probably not even the first thing on y'all's minds. Y'all are probably sitting up there raking in those $2 extra that we keep forgetting about every month because we definitely need to at least keep our Pokemon somewhere safe. And it seems that the best place to do that is unfortunately Pokemon Home. Yeah, I gotta say, they kinda got us locked in with that one though. And so that just about does it as to why everybody may believe we are so in need for the national decks going into the next games. Oh, and don't think I forgot. There's still a lot of time left on this video, I'm sure you just saw. You're waiting for my answer. Do I believe that we need the national decks from the get-go? Absolutely not. While it may sound like I'm smirking right now, I actually have my hands all the way up because I can feel you with that pitchfork right on my neck. Why don't you give me a second to explain myself? You might still want to kill me afterwards, but at least I'll have gotten my point across. For starters, let's get one thing very clear. I'm not saying that I don't want the national decks at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I want it down the line, not right from the get-go when we get the game. Now, a lot of you may disagree with me on this one, but personally, I did not have that big of a deal with the decks cut. The lies, yes, but the decks cut, no. Like a lot of you, there are a lot of favorites in the game that got cut for me. There was plenty of Pokemon that I didn't have access to that I really still want to use. However, to be completely honest with you, I kinda liked that my options were a little limited. I didn't even really think about it in my other playthroughs of newer games when they were new for me, like Black and White or whatever. However, when it came to Sword and Shield, getting the decks cut really made me realize that a lot of the time on my playthroughs, I end up using very similar Pokemon as soon as I get the chance to access them. Having most of those Pokemon gone really made me kind of get creative and use new teams for certain situations. I enjoy being able to go online and battle against my friends using Pokemon that I had never used strategically like that before. I'm not crazy competitive or anything like that, but there's a lot of Pokemon that I probably would have passed over and not even given a second glance had I had access to my regular team that I would take online to battle with people. Call me sick, but I kind of liked the inconvenience of having to use new Pokemon, because otherwise I probably would have just passed right over them. For more considerate reasons though, I feel like it'd be mad overwhelming for all of the newcomers that are still going to be coming in as soon as those remakes roll around. There's going to be no way in hell that they'll be comfortably choosing their teams if there's like a ton of different Pokemon on each route. That's too much. And then the ones that are going to want to get into competitive? Oh my god, forget about it. They'll be doing research for hours. Each Pokemon is so different and unique that over 800 is just going to make their brain explode trying to figure out what Pokemon would be best for the team that they want to utilize. I feel that with at least half the decks, they were able to comfortably traverse and get an idea and feel of each Pokemon before gradually getting introduced to new ones through the DLC. Long story short, I just simply think that newcomers do not need that much on their hands right off the bat. There's already so many different mechanics and things that they have to get used to that you gotta at least let them get used to what's on their plate first before you start surrounding them with a friggin' buffet, dude. Now that's just my take on it. I can't really speak for a completely new player right now because I haven't been a new player for years because I know all the Pokemon, but I just feel like if I were a newcomer, I'd be super overwhelmed. Now my final point here is actually just considering the longevity of things. Now I need you to sit back and imagine something for me real quick. Imagine we go through all of 4th gen remakes, we beat them on day 3 or 4 or whatever, and we get access to the complete national decks, all 800 plus. Now you, an avid Pokemon player, already have a majority of those Pokemon ready to go right there in Pokemon Home. Boom, you transfer all of those Pokemon that have been sitting there for over a year into your new games, and now you have nothing left to catch. First off, there are so many things wrong with that. For starters, it would almost render Pokemon Home completely useless until we got our hands on next gen. I know that as a fan and a player, I probably shouldn't really be considering the business side of things because that's what kind of kills us the most. But I have to be kind of realistic here. Handing over the entire dex would kind of kill their wallets there. That couple of bucks a month that they're making off Pokemon Home, completely gone, canceled until next gen. And I simply cannot see them allowing something that drastic to happen. Now, as far as the player goes, that kind of kills off the longevity for us. Obviously, if we're going to be paying for that full price tag, we want a big, long, lengthy Pokemon game that's going to keep us coming back for a long time because we're having so much fun with it. How long would you actually be playing the newest entries in the series if you had access to just transfer all of your Pokemon? You'd be fed up in about 2 to 3 weeks, tops. I don't think I want that to happen, and I'm certainly fairly sure that you don't want that to happen either. I think overall it would be best for them to come up with some kind of monthly update system where we could receive the Pokemon little bits and pieces at a time so that we could get access to new Pokemon. That way, every month or every other month or so, we have little batches of Pokemon we can look forward to using. And it kind of gives us more of a reason to keep Pokemon Home around. Every now and again, we could transfer little batches of Pokemon over again and again so that eventually we could fill up the decks. Also, those updates better be free. Y'all already got us paying nail and tooth for this frickin' Pokemon Home. Hey, I know it's not the most brilliant strategy, but I'm no developer. Personally, I just like more reason to keep coming back. And overall, I just personally feel that adding the entirety of the national decks right from the get-go after beating the game would kinda harm both parties. But again, that's just my take on it. Well then, I think that just about does it for my opinion on getting the national decks when the remakes come around. But I think you know what I'm about to say next. That's right, I want to hear what y'all think. Do you feel like we absolutely need the national decks going into the remakes? Do you agree with any of the points that I made? Or do you think that I'm actually kind of off my rocker? I want to hear all of it in the comment section below. Always down there as usual, because I want to hear all about it. But with that one, I think I'm going to go ahead and skedaddle on out of here. I want to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the absolutest... Whoa. Do me the absolute greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment and consider subscribing because I'm actually almost at 4K and I'd be a very happy camper if we could reach that very soon. Anyway, I'm outro. Thank you again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!